Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is David Brooks, the Cadillac Counselor, coming at you to tell you a little bit what's going on my mind. And today, what's going on my mind is some uncut news. Listen, we got some things out there that we need to talk about. First thing we're going to talk about is opiates and some of the things that's going around in the news with that. Stimulus checks, we got to talk about that. There was some racist comments. I don't know if they're racist, but we're going to figure that out. And then I'm going to end it off with some Trump news. Before I go into that, make sure that you subscribe. Hit the link right there. Come on now. Just a little subscription. That's all it takes. Give me some comments. And if you like the content, click it because it makes everything move. We're going to start off by we're going to talk about Purdue. All right. Now, everybody knows Purdue Pharma is one of the biggest in the United States. I would just say United States. And they have literally been behind the opioid epidemic since the very beginning. There's been all types of things coming out in where the opioids in the 80s and 90s really were created to make a big movement. We know that around 2000, it made a big boom. And what happened with that boom? It just brought in deaths after death after death. The Sacker family, they right now said that they would pay close to about 4.275 million, no, $1 billion for some of the deaths and some of the things that they might have caused. It would originally they were going to pay about 3 billion, but throughout the lawsuits we're up to about 4. Well, there's some issues with this because Purdue Pharma has pretty much turned in a bankruptcy and they are going to redo the whole structure of the business. Okay. Well, the thing about this is the lawyers jumped in this and they were saying that they don't want to give them all this time to pay it back. They want them to hurt. They're right now, as of 2020, are worth right around $13 billion. So with that $13 billion, the lawyers are saying they can come off of this money right now. So I'm going to tell you this. I work with people with opioid addictions, heroin, and just everything else. And I'm going to tell you, this family needs to pay some consequences for the death. Family members have buried their children because of the propaganda and the conditioning. And I would even use maybe operant conditioning, or we could use classic conditioning. But they've conditioned people to prescribe these medications. And let's keep it real. Man, these people were given trips, cars. I mean, they were giving all types of incentives for these prescribers to keep prescribing opiates. Somebody got to pay for it. Next thing we're going to talk about is these stimulus checks. People are acting a fool behind these checks. I'm going to tell you. So Malik, all right. So Malik Halfacre, he goes up to his baby mama, all right. And her name was Janetris Moore, all right. Janetris Moore, she had just got her $1,400 stimulus check. He comes up and he says, I won't have. So she agrees to giving him $450, but she says, I haven't cashed it. I haven't done anything with it. Come back. So she tells her family members about it. Her family members like, don't give him nothing. You raise these kids by yourself. You keep the money. All right. So he comes over to the house. She got a couple of her family members there, her children, all kinds of things. Well, he wasn't leaving without that money. So what happened? He ended up killing 4 people in this homicide. He ended up killing Moore's 7-year-old daughter, Eve. That was not his child, along with her brother, 23 years old, her mother, and a cousin. All died on this event. But he did run away with his child, and the child was then found safely after a 4-hour standoff. All right. Now, we're talking about 4 people died, standoff, and he killed her other child. Why? because he couldn't get $700. Man, this stimulus check is making people act a fool. All right. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is Ron Johnson. All right. So now Ron Johnson's in the news because he decided to make a statement. And a lot of the people on the left side said that these were racist comments. I don't really know if these were racist comments, but let's talk about it. So on January 6th, we all know I've had many videos about it. You can check it out. But this is my thing. He pretty much said that the people that ran up in the building on January 6th are different than the ones that are rioting for Black Lives Matter and Antifa. So let's talk about this. So these are his comments. He says pretty much that there was nothing racist about his comments. This shouldn't be a race issue. This is just a riot issue. Okay. Most reporters today put advocacy above journalism. Instead of conducting interviews with conservatives, they conduct arguments. He said they push their political viewpoints and are willing to lie, twist, distort, omit, or censor, and even cancel anything that opposes their view. Then he goes on to say, all who value liberty and free speech must push back. So the Wisconsin Republican sparked the major conversation by saying this. He said that the Trump supporters were, quote unquote, people that love this country, that truly respect the law enforcement. So this is what the problem is, that I think, is that they are trying to say that he is saying that the black people or the people that supported the Black Lives Matter are rambunctious, they're ignorant, and they don't understand the law and they don't respect the law. And he's saying that the Trump supporters, they all respect the law enforcement and they respect the values of this country. And what they were doing when they ran into the Capitol was trying to get their First Amendment's freedom of speech back. Now, on the other end, now don't get me wrong, Antifa, all of that stuff, I don't condone that. Black Lives Matter, it's whatever. I don't really do that either. But this is what I will say, is that this was not, we're talking about people that are upset because they are tired of being treated unfairly. Now, we're talking about years of this. We're talking about riots in the 90s. We're talking about riots in the 1960s. We've been rioting, trying to get people to understand that you can't be this unfair to people. Now, this was an election over 4 years that they got frustrated on, which caused them to run up in a building and hold it hostage. I just don't see the comparison, but I do understand that he's talking about fake news and how fake news is causing all of this issue. That's why I bring you uncut news that I go and research. So moving on to fake news. Washington Post just put in a lengthy correction of something that Trump had said during the Georgia election, and Washington Post did it all wrong. They didn't do any research. What happened was 2 months later, what happened was the Wall Street Journal obtained the audio conversation of this particular event. What did they find out? That most of all of what the Washington Post was presenting was fake news. Yes, fake news. And they went and rescinded it. So in order for rescinding to happen means they have to have proof and clear proof that they were wrong. What happened? They did it. So this is what they said. They put in a 129 word correction, and this is pretty much what it says. It says, Trump did not tell the investigators to find the fraud. Or did he say to the young lady that she had to be a national hero? What did instead, Trump urged the investigator to scrutinize ballots in Fulton County, Georgia, asserting she would find some dishonesty there. Then he goes on to say that she had the most important job in the country right now. Didn't have anything to say about she would be a national hero, and didn't say anything about finding fraud. All he said was find some dishonesty there. Listen, yes, it sounds like semantics, but it's not. This was just false news. We got to get away from false news. Prove your point. Find out what it is before you write it. But the problem is people are just writing just to write. We got to stop it, people. So, hey, people are going crazy out here. I'm reporting it every single day. Whenever I get the opportunity, make sure that you check out my channel. I got different things on mental health, substance abuse, criminal behavior, and I always got you some uncut news. All right. It's David Brooks, the Cadillac Counselor, just reaching out to tell you something that's on my mind.